don't get a lot. Boy, they won't booga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say, nothing. Okay, now, we'll go block later. You remember that contract we will do that time now? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old things. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap him.
You know, say I get annual levy why they pay for club. Where me and boys they shark beer in our house, I could pay that one. You remember say me I tell you I go buy you motor. I go buy now.
Okay, they pay you money now. We don't they beg caretaker? We they beg landlord, old man, and they agree give us time. Money can't come now. You won't divert time. You said na corruption. Corruption, not in my house and not in my country.
Sure?
Sure.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello and welcome. This is Corruption Must Go. I am your host, Murna Barnabas Atiayi. Happy Women's Day. Annually, March 8th is set aside as International Women's Day. It is a global day to celebrate the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women. The day also marks a call to action for accelerating women's equality in the boardroom, legislature and mass visibility as impressive role models, teachers, volunteers, entrepreneurs and community leaders. Women's low political representation is therefore often used as an indicator of gender inequality. Hence, the theme for this year, I Am Generation Equality, Realizing Women's Rights. In this week's edition of Corruption Must Go, we shall look at what women should do to achieve equal representation and how they can contribute more to the fight against corruption. Meanwhile, Hawa Garba brings us update on the Commission's activities.
Happy International Women's Day to all Nigerian women. We rock. Welcome to this segment of the program. I am Hawa Garba. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has finally arraigned the former Director General of the Security and Exchange Commission, Munir Gwarzo, before a federal high court, Abuja, after previous failed efforts to duck him. Gwarzo was arraigned before Justice A.O. Adeniyi alongside the principal manager with the National Identity Management Commission, Ms. Jamila Ahmed Muhammad, for allegedly engaging in a 12.8 million naira contract scam. The ex-SEC DG and Ms. Muhammad are facing a 14-count charge bordering on abuse of office and receiving gratification as public officers. Gwarzo was charged on 6 counts for awarding several contracts to Outbound Investment Limited, a private company where he allegedly doubled as a director even where he was DG of SEC. Ms. Muhammad, on her part, is facing an 8-count charge of gratification and abuse of office for running a private company while in the employment of the federal government, as her company, Outlook Communication Limited, was awarded contracts of over 4 million naira by SEC. Both Gwarzo and Ms. Muhammad pleaded not guilty to the charge when it was read to them. Justice Adeniyi, while ruling on the bail applications, granted each of the accused bail in the sum of 10 million naira each and 1 surety for each in like sum. He ruled further that each of the surety must be resident within the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and must not be below the rank of a director in the employment of the federal government or the Federal Capital Territory Administration. The matter was then adjourned to 22nd and 23rd April 2020 for trial. ICPC has further demonstrated its determination to purge the educational sector of all forms of corruption through its efforts that led to the recent conviction of the self-acclaimed rector of International College of Professions, ICP, located at Iha Alomuna in Nsukka, Enugu State. The convict Reverend Obioku Nnamdi Royalson was earlier arraigned by the Commission on a 5-count charge of conspiracy, forgery, fraud, cheating and dishonesty. However, following a plea bargain, the counts were reduced to 3. The trial judge, Honorable Justice Nwobodo of High Court 5, sitting in Enugu, found Royalson guilty on all the 3 counts preferred against him by the prosecution, and accordingly sentenced him to a fine of 100,000 naira. ICPC has handed over 28.2 million naira, each recovered from defaulters in the sale of federal government houses to the Federal Capital Development Authority, FCDA. This is in addition to over 3.8 billion naira the Commission had previously recovered for FCDA since 2017, when it began tracking down beneficiaries of the federal government's Housing Owner-Occupier Scheme for government workers who had defaulted in their payments and those who had outrightly refused to pay. That will be all from this segment of the program. Corruption Must Go continues with Murna.
You're still watching Corruption Must Go. Globally, women are underrepresented in decision-making in both public and private sectors. As at December 2018, the global participation rate of women in national level parliaments was 24.1%. Understanding corruption linkages to gender inequality issues and how they impact women's empowerment as part of the broader process of advancing women's rights, and at the same time, crafting more effective strategies to combat corruption.
Mrs. Olubukola Balogun, a board member of ICPC, and Hajia Saudatu Mahdi, Secretary General, Women's Rights Advancement and Protection Alternative, make their contributions to the subject matter.
I share that view that we are underrepresented, and it's a very painful thought when you think about it, seeing yourself as a woman. First, you have God inalienable rights given to you. You are a human being. You were born the way the men were born, but somehow along the line, maybe due to cultural reasons, whatever reasons, they see us maybe as somebody low to them. But I think things are really changing. But then we are still underrepresented. There are a lot of things we can do as women. First of all, we have to develop our intellectual and skill development. I'm talking about the two together. Whether you want to read, whether you want to learn a trade, whether you want to do anything, women we all have to come up with something and be busy to develop our lives. And also, we have to seize opportunities for empowerment. I hate to see any woman who is not gainfully employed. Whether you are trading, you are selling something, you have to really help, because we all can see what the economy is in Nigeria today. So all of us, we have to be busy, at least for the sake of our children and our family. And you know, the family, when you build the family, you build the nation. Again, women, we have to be confident and assertive. Gone are the days when you say girl child or a woman should sit down at the kitchen. We are human beings. Anything we are doing, we have to do it very well and be assertive and confident in, you know, coming up with whatever thoughts we have, how we want to use our capacity very well to build the nation. I think we have to address societal ills and prejudices against women. When you are training your girl, you have to put into her that confidence. And then when you are training the boy too, you have to let him know how to respect women. and how to deal with women. The fight against corruption is a fight for, we have to own that fight. Whether you're a woman or a man or a boy or a girl, everybody we have to, because we are affected. We are all affected. The opportunity cost of corruption is jarring every one of us in the face. And we have to get out of this loop as a nation. So the fight should start from each person, especially with the men, with the women. I said we have to do self-regulation and we have to demonstrate personal integrity. What you don't have, you cannot give. So if you regulate yourself and you have integrity, then you can give another person. You can teach that to your children and they will not deviate from it when they grow up.
I think as a dictum we all know that the best change you achieve is that which you push for yourself or what you want to see different. Quite okay, women have come a long way pushing to even be heard and then to be given the right to equal representation in the development of Nigeria. It's not just so much as numbers, but it is about us being able to contribute to the development of our country, our communities, and our families. So when we say the change you want to see must be a factor of what you want to do or what you can do, the first thing to say is that women must organize. We must organize, and organizing means horizontal and vertical. Horizontal is about us being able to reach out to each other, irrespective of our differences, both culturally, occupationally, and otherwise. Vertically, we must also have a generational link between the older women and the younger women, between women of high class and women of low class, between women who are educated and those who are not, and most importantly, with our daughters and sisters. Now, the second thing women also need to do is, representation is a factor of both public and political life. Now, in terms of public life, that means women must be found in education, women must be found in politics, women must be found in the market, in the economy. Already we're in the economy, only we're at a lower level, and our inputs are not recognized and imputed into the GDP or whatever. Now, what that says is women need to pursue education. They must pursue education. Yes, our enrollment figures and retention figures in schools are said to have improved, but we must have a deliberate action where communities take it upon themselves to ensure that their daughters are in school and they keep their daughters in school. Now, the other thing that needs to happen is economic empowerment. When we speak to economic empowerment, it's not just about money. It is even about the value you place on your head. If as a woman you believe you are less than full, or you're less than normal, or it's okay to ride you, or it is okay to sideline you, then really pushing you, no matter how much naira you put in your hands, will not work. So you need to have a value on your head and on the heads of your daughters and your family. Well, for us in RAPA, that's Women's Rights Advancement and Protection Alternative. You know, it's a non-profit founded by Honorable Justice Fatia Abubakar. We are being supported by MacArthur Foundation to implement a project called Gender and Accountability. This project aims at looking through the prism of gender to see how corruption affects women. It affects women, you know, in so many aspects, but to see the impact of what it does to them. A woman in labor goes to a hospital and the kit to receive her baby has been either misappropriated or has been taken away, or it's not even there at all. It's a big issue because she could die while giving life. When you want your daughters in school, we spoke about daughters being in school. If the school is run in such a manner that there is no infrastructure, the books that are brought are sold out, the admission is given on the terms of, you know, first come, first serve, or best buyer. Examinations are done, lecturers compromise, students compromise. and all of that, it then comes back to this. Then come to the big elephant in the room, as they say, power. Women hold small businesses that are really dependent on power, and the less capacity they have to access power, the less their productivity becomes, and the higher their risk of poverty is. So for us, corruption creates a barrier for women's access to the services that mean everything to their lives. Is it from the economic income to their to the education of their children, or their capacity to earn a living? So for us, corruption really affects women, and the role that women can play is, first of all, again, organize. We can show evidence from the project I spoke about, that is the Gender and Accountability, that when women organize, just an example, in one community in Enugu State, they had high billing, they had low meter placements, and then they had also corruption coming in, because they come, you give them something, they add. And when the women organized and confronted the municipal area person, and then moved on to the AEDC representative, in less than 3 days, they had everything put back. So again, you see, when you organize and do things as best as you can within civility and non-violent, women have the capacity for non-violence organization. So women can organize and address those areas that really matter to their well-being and to the well-being of their families, and also identify what specific actions of corruption affects them.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello? Laja, you brought clothes while I was away? Really? And you've collected them? Okay, Alaja, no problem. I'll get back to you, eh? Bye-bye. Madams, who amongst you collected clothes from Alaja?
Which Alaja, ma?
You're asking me which Alaja?
Aziz, anybody bring clothes?
Madam, don't mind them. Now, so they do. They don't turn your shop to their shop. They cut corner where you know they.
You cut corners?
No, madam, I beg.
Corruption is not just about government. This is how it starts. Because this is a petty business. You think you can ruin my shop? For those of you who cut corners behind your bosses, it is called absolute corruption. And corruption, not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Corruption not in my country.
We also spoke with the Country Representative Action Aid, a non-governmental organization and rights activists, Ene Obi. She gives us more insight on the subject matter.
Representation is not a women thing, because representation has to do with the population of the people. It has to do with governance of the people. It has to do with the leadership of the people. And it doesn't come from the women. It should come from the government, the systems. Does it protect what kind of population? What is the representation of the population? In Nigeria, we have the Federal Character Commission. And the Federal Character Commission is to ensure that you have the enabling, you have representation from different, tribes and the states across the country. That one tribe does not control the other, is to have a balance in your population. Women are in the balance. Women account for more than 50% of the population. And so when you are correcting the imbalance of a representation in your population, you are not doing women a favor. If you miss the voices of those who are supposed to be in a decision-making environment, if you miss their voices, it means you as a leader, you as the one providing the governance structure, because government is about governance. And governance is a process in which you administer your own, the tool of government. And so when you are talking about how do women improve the representation, there has to be a political leadership. There has been a pledge from Beijing. Luckily this year is 25 years down the line from Beijing. And the government of Nigeria made a promise, just like many governments in the world, of the 35% affirmative action. We are down the line 25 years and Nigeria is still paying lip service. And many other countries are paying lip service. But especially Nigeria. Gone are the days when you had very few women who struggled for the independence of Nigeria. the likes of Margaret Ekpo of blessed memory, the likes of Gambo Sawaba of blessed memory, the likes of Fumilayo Ransom Kuti of blessed memory. And I remember in a conversation when we paid a visit to Margaret Ekpo, you know, and she told us that they were not educated as we are, that they were all, is it standard 6 or something, all of them, but they're too strong taking care of their sisters. We need to get ourselves together. Mine is intergenerational as well, mentorship. I provide mentorship to a number of girls, a number of young women, and I've been doing that over the years as well, because my own is, when you are sitting on a seat, you need to look around. Where is the other girl? How are you preparing? And in the workplace where you are, when you look at the women around you, how are you noticing them? Because women have issues, whether we like it or not. Equality does not mean the same treatment. Equality, we are looking at the issues of equality. It does not, women and men are not the same. But in the opportunities that exist to reaching an equal opportunity, there are still different interventions which you can make. But I think what has happened is, how do we get from here? We need a political commitment. We need also to train more young women in the position of leadership. Of course, in women and men, but you look at, for us in ActionAid, we look at the most vulnerable. And the most vulnerable are women and girls. We need representation, but we also need women to get up and fight corruption, wherever it is, because it starts from the environment. Can you stand upright where you are and tell the truth? Because truth will stand the test of time. Like the Guardian says, he said, you know, conscience is a wound. You know what is right. You know this is black, you said it's white. How can you tell that? The culture of our people, the African culture that we believe in, is a culture of integrity, dignity. We stand for that. Much as many people are corrupt in Nigeria, there are a number of people that are not corrupt. And so how do we encourage them to stand upright? In the different sectors, even in the civil service where you have a lot of corruption, there are still some Nigerians who feel they want to go home with their clean hearts. And they want to go home with the sanity. They still believe in integrity. How can we bring that culture? And what are we doing to the society? When you are looting and you are giving it to, and your children are watching you and knowing that you can't, Daddy, you can't afford that. Your level should not be able to afford that, and you are directing them to that decision. So I will say that women need organizing to say no to corruption and to work with all like minds in Nigeria, because the money that they are looting is enough to give our children jobs, is enough to industrialize Nigeria. And we can do a lot more if we're able to unite ourselves. But I'm also calling on women leaders, wherever you are, to breed leaders. Because the quality of a good leader is how many leaders you are able to breed.
Given that corruption affects women more as they account for the larger proportion of people living in poverty, there is the need for more women from various strata of the society to get involved in the fight against corruption. We are all part of a whole. Our individual actions, behaviors, and contributions can impact society positively. So, make this Women's International Day your day and do what you can to truly make a positive difference for women. That's our package for this week. Remember that an equal world is an enabled world. See you again next week.